We're alive.
We're ready?
Yeah.
We're ready? Gracie, we're
Yeah,
ready?
we are.
Excellent! Alrighty. We were just checking our camera connections, you guys, so you caught us. Well, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Grace
Morning.
Nolan.
Nice to
Look who
see
I
you.
have here, everybody. It's Wednesday morning, and if it's Wednesday morning, it must be Facebook Live from beadshop.com. I'm Kate Richburg, and this is my cohort today, Grace Noland, and you usually see Gracie behind the camera, but we have Brandwin behind the camera today doing her camera duties, so we're all here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll be doing comments, so I'll be looking down to answer some
we're
questions.
going to be multitasking. Yeah. Janice is on the other side, also on the computer with Drea, and as I know you guys jump on and say hello, it's great to see you. I hope all of you in the U.S. had a great Independence Day holiday,
yeah.
right? And Canada, you are celebrating your sesquicentennial, right?
Your
Fancy.
favorite word.
My favorite word. It is true. I love it. So happy Canada Day, and I hope everyone had some good times there. So if we got people jumping on,
We do.
Brandwin and Grace, what's
Oh my
going
gosh.
on?
So many hellos. We have, well, Drea's joined.
Hey,
Kathy,
Drea.
Vita, Debbie, Nina, Sharon, Debbie, and Karen.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, hello and good morning, everyone. Oh my gosh. You know, Grace, I don't know. I've been showing you as they come in, but Emily's spiral rope last week,
Totally.
it was off the hook. Do you know how many people made spiral ropes?
I
Like
don't
a lot, like a lot. You guys, you were so awesome in sending me so many great photos. And Emily is finishing her last day of vacation today.
Right.
She's on vacation. So hello to Emily Miller if you're out there watching us from Lake County. Your project was a hit. I think it was for a lot of reasons. I think because, well, the teaching was great.
Right.
And it really was an easy way to start our seed bead school.
Nice.
Right?
Nice.
It was so fun. So I've got some things. I've got
You were
some to
saying
share
you were
with
gonna
you.
show, like,
yeah.
all of our. Let me see if there's any comments.
All
while you're
right.
doing that.
Let's do that. And I'm gonna.
Well, your mom says hi to us.
Oh, hi, Mama. There's my mom. So I have got. I've got some great. First, I wanna start off before we do the spiral ropes. We had several patriotic
Oh yes.
samples that I wanted to share. And you know, we do a lot of stuff, you know, here for holidays at beadshop.com, but sometimes we don't do like holiday specifics, and I don't
Right.
even know if we've ever done like a 4th of July
We
kind
have.
of project.
Yeah, we
have
did.
we?
Last year we did Linnea's Pathways
Oh,
and
the
the dancer
pathways,
earrings.
that's right. Those
Cotillion
were,
and Liberty.
that's right. They
Yeah.
were really cool
Yeah.
looking. But people have just kind of taken the patterns and just run with them. So I want
Totally.
to show you guys. I think you guys will love these. I showed these really quick on our Friday, Free Tip Friday, because it was kind of pre 4th of July.
Right.
But I want to share them with you guys here. So this one is from Cynthia. And this is her patriotic, I don't know, Bran, if you can get right in there, but this is her patriotic take on our poetry.
Right.
And
it's beautiful.
Isn't it beautiful? I am in love with this button. Isn't it great?
Amazing.
And it really, really makes it, I think it's beautiful. So Cynthia, great job. And of course, all of these that we're showing and sharing, we will put in our episode notes. And I've written back to, I think, hopefully all of you to encourage you to enter them in Beater Showcase, because, you know, it'll be a great to
Addition.
showcase them on our
Yeah.
website. So here's this one. Now let me show you. There's a couple more. I have this really nice one from Ginger. And this is Ginger's take on her 4th of July.
So nice.
Right?
Because I didn't get to see this one yet.
Well, this is a different one. And then I have another 4th of July
right.
Tahoe.
So it's Ginger
Right?
and Debbie.
Yeah.
As Brandon and I know behind the camera, we
That's
got to see their
right.
banter, and I got to see
Right.
the beads raw, but not completed.
Right, because you were filling their orders. Right? Grace is so multi-talented. She does the stuff on the computer and runs back and fills orders. But this is Ginger's
I
dueling
love
tape.
it. I didn't
Isn't
get
it
to
great?
see it, and I really like it a
Isn't
lot.
it awesome?
Really nice.
Well, let me show you. So let's follow that up with Debs, because
Sure.
she sent us her finished one. It's right here. She said, Tiffany, I wanted you to see the finished project and I love it. The Tahoe pattern is definitely a springboard for the imagination. It is really true. And she wanted to thank Janice for her wonderful design and to Emily, Grace, and me for our inspirational teaching. And she said this, and I think this is really cool. She said, many thanks to your entire staff. That means all y'all around. Entire staff. So efficient, so fun, and I know they kiss each little bead goodbye before they go out to a new home. It's really true.
It is true.
It is.
It really is true.
So
That's very sweet.
it is. Thank you. So we always appreciate those little shout outs. Here is Debbie's.
I love how this turned out.
Debbie's
It's
Dueling
fantastic.
Tahoe. It is, right? I love the sliders and everything. So Deb and Ginger, you guys did a great job. Good work. I thought it was awesome.
Just
a
on the
little bit
pattern?
tighter? I bet I can. Let me see. There we go. And I can go even one more.
Yeah,
So you can
that's
see
nice.
which sliders and stuff everybody used. So really a great job, you guys. Really awesome. And then I have one last one. My mama sent something in,
Ooh.
which I'm totally stoked to share with you.
Oh, is this one you showed me?
I did.
Nice.
Yeah. So my mom
Oh, yeah.
was saying, she said, I finished my spiral rope bracelet. And, you know, my mom and I, we like to chat, usually on Wednesdays after, when I'm going home after the Facebook Live. So last Wednesday we were talking, and she's all, okay, now Kate, talk me through this one more time. So I'm on my headset going, okay, Mom, put on 4 beads, then 3 beads, or 3 beads and 4 beads. I can't remember the pattern now, it's been a week. But anyway, so she worked it through and she made her spiral rope bracelet. So she said the things that she learned were, she learned to thread a size 12 needle with Emily's guidance, which
Nice.
was great. She said she honestly never thought I'd be able to do that. She also said that she learned how to add thread, and she said that was kind of daunting for her. And I'm going to show you in today's Lalique Looming project, we're going to add thread again, and I'm going to give you some tips about how not to be daunted to add thread into seed bead work. She said she really felt comfortable with Emily's technique, and thread management is the key. And then she said she always learns a lot from watching our Facebook Live.
I learn a lot. I'm behind the camera. And I'm
broadcast.
just like
Oh, it's
zooming
awesome.
in, like,
and
oh.
she always feels it's like she and I get to hang out. So it's
Well, that's
great.
really
So I'm glad, Mama. I love, and she says, love you, Mom. Well, I love you back, and let's take a look at her piece. Now, the button she used, she followed up. So she kind of made a patriotic spiral rope. And the button that she used, she emailed me and said, Kate, do you remember this star button from Gran's Button Box? And I do indeed. My little fingers would play with this button and turn it over and over in my hands when I was little. So now it lives on that patriotic bracelet, which is
Beautiful.
really cool.
I love
think
that.
it's awesome. So all of these together, these kind of patriotic projects, I think make a kind of a cool collection.
Totally.
And I think it also shows you guys that any of our projects can be adapted to your own taste, right? I mean, we love giving you kind of the recipes,
Right.
you know, the ingredients lists for what exactly we've used. But I really think it's awesome that you can just run and adapt and kind of
Incorporate your own history or
Yeah.
what you love into a piece that you love that we've made, but make it your own.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Very
And there's a
nice.
couple, do we have time? Grace, there were so many this
There were
week.
so many.
There's one, so I want to kind of jump over to spiral rope. We've got spiral ropes like up the wazoo from you guys. You guys really loved it, which was great. We had one from Mary Ellen.
Oh, I loved
And
this
you loved this
one.
one. I loved this too, and I thought that I would share this with you guys because it's made with the spiral rope pattern, but Mary Ellen, what she did was she really adapted her own beads to this, right?
Loved it.
So she's used some big beads, some little beads. She said she had a few issues with the tension, but you know, that'll come. I think it really looks fantastic with these big beads. It's really nice. Do you need me to zoom in on there at all,
It would be nice
Bran?
just to see. I mean,
A little
we
bit
got
tighter.
it pretty good, but I think
But
that
yeah, can
even
you see
tighter would be really
even
nice.
there? There's a little bit more of the detail in that, which is cool. And you can see she just used a simple clasp, which
What
was
I
awesome.
really loved about this
Mhm.
piece was how different of the effect overall was so different, but
Right.
it was the same project.
Right, using the same stitch,
Technique.
using a seed
Yeah.
bead stitch, but incorporating, I mean, obviously those are round beads. It was pretty awesome.
That was
So-
so beautiful.
Don't be hemmed in by either our bead choices, you guys, or the bead choices that you think you should make, because look at this, totally thinking outside the box.
Was this Mary Ellen?
Mary Ellen, yes!
She's like,
yes!
thank you, ladies.
Mary Ellen, thank you for sharing it. It was really awesome. And then I wanted to show
Oh yeah.
this Odyssey, which is also kind of on the same idea, and then I'm going to show you the Odyssey laid out. So this was, oh, I'm sorry, let me see who this is from. Sorry, Brandon. You're like, put that computer
Lynn.
in what, it was from Lynn. Great.
Sorry, everybody's gonna see your elbow for a while.
Right, well, so Lynn started with the Odyssey kit.
Mm-hmm.
And then she added a whole bunch of her favorite beads. And can you see, she used our check rollers there, which I think look really, really nice. And she also sent one that was laid out, which I think really
You know
is
what I
good.
love about this too? Is it also married our other kit as well?
Yeah.
The Tahoe. It has some of
Mhm.
those Tahoe.
It has Tahoe
Montana.
moments, doesn't
I
it?
love
Yeah.
it.
It's really, and look at those are obviously from her stash, those little drop beads.
Love
So
it.
again, it really shows you guys as a springboard to just jump in and make your mark on these pieces. Really, look at how great.
So Debbie and Ginger, the two who gave us the patriotic Tahoes,
yeah.
are like, love breaking the rules.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's obvious
breaking the
that
law.
they love breaking the rules. 'Cause
Yeah.
They went outside the
Both
box.
said it at the same
I
Exactly.
love it. Yes, that's awesome. And so to finish up, you guys, I've got a really special sample to show you guys. So next week, Janice is coming home.
Right.
Well, I guess I could say coming for a visit because it's not really home anymore. I guess the East Coast is home for you, huh, Janice? But she's going to be in, this is her week to spend in the office with us. And so next week, she's doing the Facebook Live broadcast with us, which is going to be super exciting. And Janice is doing her favorite project, which is called Color Study. We're going to be talking a lot about color, about the techniques that go into this laddering bracelet. But she sent us a sneak peek, and I thought
It's so beautiful.
I would give you guys a sneak peek too. Something to look forward to for next week before we jump into looming. But here is her fresh take on Color Study, which I think is beautiful. And this is a decadent 8-wrap bracelet. Now, I've never made Color Study, so I am, have you?
No, I have not.
I'm really excited to maybe jump in and create one.
Marrying all of our techniques
Look
into
at that.
like one bracelet and making it look so easy.
So easy and so just delicious. And what Janice used, and Gracie, you and I both remarked on it,
Yeah.
she's using the half
Loved
tilas.
'em.
And she made this one, you can really see it over here, this one wrap of just the tilas that just looked, it was like, I don't know, it was dreamy. It was so, so beautiful. So Janice will be here on Facebook Live on Wednesday. We'll have a whole list of everything that she's used, all of that, so you guys can incorporate, you know, all of these techniques into your pieces. And Janice and I have a fun way where we're going to lay this all out and teach it to you
Totally.
all. So I think it's going to be really fun. So JP, we're really looking forward to having you back
Definitely.
next week. We know that you love Virginia and you're working real hard over there, but we're super excited
Very.
to have you. And then on your wrist,
On my wrist. But before we get to mine, Lynn, who was the one on before, it wasn't roller beads, they were Miyuki Baroque.
Baroque
pearls.
pearls. Okay, even better. I love those Miyuki Baroque pearls.
Yeah,
they're just
beautiful.
delicious.
But anyway,
Yeah,
so this
what
is
you've
the week
got
after.
on there.
So I'm gonna be like, I'm making a Janice sandwich.
You
on
are. So
Facebook
you're going to
Live.
be on the following week,
Right.
and you are going to be doing our Across Cultures
Yes.
piece. that is going to be really amazing. And so Grace and I are going to be, this is a piece, and you guys can go and see on Across Cultures on our project page. But before I came back to beadshop.com, when I'd check in with Janice and look at the website and go, nice work, ladies, the Across Cultures project just made me just drool. It was so, it's so old school bead shop, but this color interpretation, Grace, that you've made is so fresh.
Oh, thank you.
I'm just really excited to create this.
Thank you.
And this would also make, you never know what my Across Cultures would be, but it would make a great, extended this as a necklace. So really, really great job.
Thank you.
Lovely, lovely. All right, so that being said, oh my gosh, there were so many shares today, but I had to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed that, right? There were so many good shares. I had to do it all. Any questions that we need?
No, just comments.
All right.
Let's see.
Comments.
Let's see. It says, Casey says, in all caps, thank you. I'm just starting back into jewelry making and I can't remember how to use the silly things. Thanks.
Oh, great. Yeah, the Baroque pearls are so awesome. And there you are. Thanks, Gita, for all of your linking. We really, really appreciate it.
Someone says, never cease to amaze. Ginger says, wow, an 8 wrap.
8 wrap.
My
We're
goodness.
going for it.
Yes.
I can't wait to see it in person.
I know, me too.
I know, it's going to be
I
exciting.
think the colors that Janice picked were really beautiful.
And it's interesting how Janice is, and she's going to talk about that a little bit next week, how now that she's working remotely, she has to choose her beads like you guys have to from the online store.
Right.
So I'm sure she's going to share some insight about how she chooses her beads and everything as well. So it's going to be a great broadcast.
Right.
But to get back to Lalique
Right.
Looming, it's time. So ever since we got our bugles in, I have been enamored of these bugle beads. And as you guys know from last week's broadcast, I'm not a super big seed beader. There's one seed bead, well now I know 2 seed bead stitches. I know spiral rope, and I know how to peyote stitch, right? So those are my 2. I also know how to loom, but I don't know if I call looming a stitch. Maybe it is. It's more of a technique, I guess. So, so we got these in, and I thought that the colors were so amazing. And as we started to put things together, I was really reminded of this book that I have. And it's called Masterpieces of French Jewelry. And a few years ago, I think it was in 2009, the Palace of the Legion of Honor, the museum up in San Francisco, had an exhibit that featured kind of this Art Nouveau jewelry, and it featured the jewelry of Tiffany, of Lalique, and of why is the other one escaping me? Tiffany, Lalique, and I should look at this. I have them. They're in the. I'll look it up on the thing. Tiffany, Lalique. Well, those are the 2 that matter to me at this moment. Oh, and Fabergé. Fabergé was in there too. And oh, look, and there's Cartier. I'll show you. But some of the things, the way that the exhibit was laid out, it was really, really interesting. They had, and I'll turn this around, they had the gates. It's a black and white photo, but they had, it was a big exposition that happened in 1900 about and included a lot of jewelry, including René Lalique. And they had these gates at the exhibit, and it was really cool to kind of walk through there and start to see the pretty amazing things. But I have always been very enamored of kind of this Art Nouveau period, especially for jewelry. So you can see a lot of people, like you, Grace, when I said Lalique to you, what came to mind?
So, just my background, my grandmother and my mother really into antiques. So my mom has a lot of Lalique vases and a lamp that's just exquisite. So I was thinking those, but I know he did jewelry, but that's not what comes to mind when I think Lalique. But I was so for it because I thought that your bugle piece really showcased like the essence of Lalique,
Yeah,
which
this
I like.
color gradation. And so you can see the pieces. I had to go back through this exhibit like twice just that day to really see everything.
It's no longer going on, right?
No, this was back in 2009. But if you go to the Palace of the Legion of Honor website, the San Francisco museums, you can look at past exhibits, enamel work. It really, I just think, is just visually so stimulating. So there's a lot of really beautiful things, and so this was the exhibit, the catalog from the exhibition, and this is the last
So
page I'll show you.
beautiful.
But this is really where I pulled, you can see that color inspiration
Totally.
just came right here from that. So I just really think that it's quite lovely
It's gorgeous.
and totally inspirational for me. So it was really fun. So that's where I pulled that. So, and the book is called Masterpieces of French Jewelry, and I'm not sure if it showed anywhere else other than San Francisco. My guess is it probably did, but it was great. So we're really fortunate to have so many wonderful museums that are near us here. So let's talk a little bit.
Connected.
All
We're good?
right.
We're good.
It was gone for
No,
quite a
I
while.
saw it was before you
But
moved
and then it did it
Yeah.
again, so we are connected now.
Yeah, looks
All right.
like we're live again.
We're live again. Sorry, you guys, if you do miss us, you can always back out from the broadcast and reboot yourself up. Also, the broadcast should play pretty seamlessly on our replay. So sorry about that, but you know, sometimes it's the whim of Facebook. So thanks for hanging in there with us.
Totally.
Alrighty, so let's take a look at our tools and materials that we're going to use for Lalique Looming. So first and foremost, we're going to need the beads. And Gracie, you
Sure.
have your beads as well. I like using these little round containers. We have them on the site. These are, I think, the bigger than little containers. I think this is the larger size. I'm going to take the lid off here so you guys can see in. That's what I love about these, is that the whole lid just comes right off. And especially if you're using like a bunch of different seed bead colors or things like that, it's a great way to mix everything. So Gracie, your colorway was called Nymphs, and my colorway was called Peacock. And then we used the same hexagon seed bead for both of these.
Right.
It was the 194F, and they're a darling. I love this bead. So that acts as our
I
metal.
think that actually makes the piece more Lalique.
Yeah,
The ombre does, but I think the texture from that,
I agree.
it emulates the like stained glass. I know it's not stained glass,
Right, but it has
kinda
that stained glass feel.
yeah.
Yeah, that the metal that surrounds everything, kind of the frame
Right.
of
It
all
gives
of the
the
glass.
mood of Lalique.
Yeah.
It's really great.
Yeah, I loved it. So you need your beads, and then what you're going to need, you guys, is we're going to work today with these ribbon clamps, which don't let these strike fear into your heart. They're easier than you think they are to work. So don't worry, Gracie. I've got you. I've got
Sounds
you,
good.
Grace. And then we're going to use kind of an innovative closure. I've got a 1 millimeter leather cord that we're going to use with those ribbon clamps, and we've got these new slider beads that are going to be these slider tubes that we showed. We had a giveaway with them a few weeks ago, but you're going to love the way that this closes. I think you're going
I'm
to
really
love
excited
it.
to learn how to close
Yeah,
with these.
it's my new favorite thing. Then after, the other things you're going to need are, you're going to need some beeswax. I wax, but you don't.
I don't wax.
And we'll talk about that. That's okay. I do. And we use, of course, some looming needles, some KO thread, but you could use KO or Hana or any small looming thread that you might have. And of course, we need some zap glue, a trusty toothpick, and we're going to need some kind of thread scissor. And I'm going to tell you why my chain nose pliers are all taped up. But you're going to need a pair of chain nose, and I'm going to show you why I have that. Okay. So let's talk, Brandon, we want to pull back just a little bit so we've got kind of a larger view here, because we want to show you some dueling looms. Okay?
Yes.
And I used the Jewel Loom. And Grace,
Actually, I'm just going to pull it.
you used the Deep Dish Design Board.
Right.
Now both will work. Okay, here's mine on my Jewel Loom. Here's yours on your Deep Dish. And they both work.
Just pull it forward and then
Forward,
towards me.
forward, that way. Okay, great.
And then, yeah, I could move the camera too. if
Okay,
you need to.
great. So they both work for looming. You can see under our Tricks to Looming page, our Tricks to Looming page has a lot of info on the loom. But you started out with the Jewel Loom, Gracie.
did.
And you were having, so what were your, what,
Okay. So,
why do you love looming on the Deep Dish?
well, okay, there are a few reasons. Let's
Mhm.
start off that I'm not a loomer.
You're not a
I'm
loomer.
a ladderer and stringer.
Yeah, right?
But I don't mind looming, and you know what that means?
Yes.
I
Whenever
like
Gracie
the
says,
effect of looming.
whenever Gracie says, I don't mind it, it means that she doesn't really love it, but she likes the outcome.
I do like the outcome, so I'll put in the work to get the result, but I don't really love
The
doing
process
the
of looming.
process. So I learned to loom when I first started with Janice,
Mhm.
and so she taught me on the board. And I was already like very hesitant to use the Jewel Loom, but I thought that I should go for
Right,
it to
just to try it.
just to
Mhm.
try it, because Karen and you swear by it.
Yeah, we
Karen
love it.
loves it.
Yeah,
you
Karen
love
loves it.
I didn't love it so much, and I just wanted to show that I was trying to mark like where I was here because I'm just not familiar with this
Right.
tool
Right.
or how to use it. So I was trying to like
Kind of
maneuver
mark
my
your little
way,
places, yeah.
around it. And you know what? I started this piece on it, this little piece
Mhm.
here, and I was like, Kate, I can't do this anymore.
That's then Gracie, go to the Deep
board.
Dish.
And I was
Go
like,
to the
okay,
board.
but when we're on live, you're gonna do it on the loom.
Yes, that's right. And I am. And I'm going to share with you some of, because there are a few tricks
I'd
when
like to
you're,
learn.
because doing the Jewel Loom with just like simple 11/0 and it's really, really easy,
Right.
that doesn't throw like a curve into
Right.
what you're doing. But since we are looming with these bugles,
Right.
there are some issues that
Right.
happen with that. So, so I'll show you about that.
But so as a result, you actually taught me because I would tie these individually on my board, and you were
Right.
like, "Why don't you just tie one continuous piece?" And I
Right.
said, "Oh, that makes more
Yeah,
sense."
and so what Gracie was doing, and let's actually show them how you would start to, I'm going to take this
Do you want
needle
me to
off so
show?
it doesn't
Oh.
go anywhere while you're doing it. And then why don't you actually show just how you would wind,
with your technique, with
well,
my new love.
yeah, your new love of warping this board.
Okay, can you see it? Okay, Brandon.
See what, that's okay, I'm gonna go in a little tighter on you.
Sure.
Okay.
So what Kate would suggest that I did was to have the spool of KO and just wrap it. Oh, I have a piece from my other guy here.
Let me get that piece out of your way.
I'm sure.
And as forward as towards me as you can.
Okay.
There we go.
Is that better?
Yes, much better.
Okay. So then I just wrap it around a few times. And then when I was done creating the warp, right,
Mm-hmm, the warp.
I just tie it off here
Mm-hmm.
before I even cut it and make
Mhm.
sure it was taut. And then double or triple knot it
Mhm.
again.
And
That's
so
how I
let's
did
knot it. I'm going to put my finger there. And Gracie's just wrapped this like 4 times, but
Right.
you can see how she's just doing that nice little knot. And then you'll go ahead and cut away your the tails. But then what you can do with this is you can kind of move your little warp threads so that they are the right
The channels
width.
are.
Mhm, the channels are
Yeah.
correct.
That's what I was having trouble with on the loom
Mhm.
that I didn't have with
Mhm.
this new technique that you taught me.
And the thing that I like, because what Grace was doing previously, may I have your thing? She was coming in, because I saw it and I'm all, that's interesting, Grace, what are you doing? So she would come, you came in and you just tied each individual
one,
warp,
yeah.
which is a little more like traditional looming, right? I would put on one warp and then I'd come in and I'd get my threads and I'd do my second warp like this, right, all of it here, right, and this is just a little overhand knot, and I'd tie it really, there we go, right, like this, and then you would like kind of pull these around so your knots wouldn't show. But then you can also kind of move things around like this. So you could do a combination. Like, let's say that I warped this and I was all, oh, this isn't right. I needed more little channels. So I could just slide these little guys down, slide these guys over, and that's why Janice always says with this method, you could use just about anything. Like if you had a little tray or a, I don't know, like a cookie sheet or something like that, you could do that. So that's how we create, and you can see we want our tension on this
That's
to,
super important.
it's really important. If it's floppy, you're not going to get good tension on your piece. Okay, so that's how Gracie did hers, and it looks, you can see, it really looks amazing. Let me show you our jewel loom, our friend, the jewel loom. What I like about the jewel loom, and it was created by my friend Juliana Huggins Avalar, and Juliana, she is a great seed beater and jewelry designer, and you may have seen her, you know, she's been a jewelry TV personality for a long time. It's pretty cool. So so this is kind of her creation, and I really dig it. So, Brand, you want to get out maybe a little bit? I don't know. Is it okay? I can't tell. Is it
a little
good?
bit of a lag, so
Okay.
we're
good.
we're good now.
So you can see the jewel loom. It comes with this little middle rod. That's the thing I think people forget to add.
I didn't forget.
But
I
I'm
had a
looking at you,
challenge.
Grace. No, just kidding.
I had a challenge putting it in.
Right.
I felt
So I'll
bad,
just take
like
it
I was
out.
gonna break it.
This is really pretty flexible plastic. So the way that this little arm goes in, it just goes in here, and then you kind of push the loom kind of together. I'm just so used to doing it automatically. There we go. You kind of push it together and then it snaps in. The cool thing about this is it automatically gives you the right tension. Okay, so we need, for this piece, I need 11 channels.
Right.
Because I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 beads. So 11 channels, 11 beads, which means 12 wraps of thread, okay? So the way that I start, and I'm not going to even worry about making the channels at this point. What I'm going to do is, see, I'm turning it over, and see there's that little nub right there? I'm just going to come in, I'm going to tie my overhand knot, bring it down around that little nub, and tie it closed. Okay, so it's tight. Okay. Now, what I'm going to try and do, I'm also going to get rid of that extra tail. I'm just going to find a channel. Okay? I'm going to find its channel over here just by kind of pulling it tight and see if that looks right. Then I'm going to turn it over, go around the little nub. I'm going to go in the channel.
I actually want to see how you do this, because I had problems getting it to stay in there once maybe I didn't have the right tension, though I thought I was pulling it pretty tight.
Well, see, as I go back and forth, see here, I go around the little nub. I think Juliana calls it a button, so maybe I should call it a button, I don't know. But you can see. And see how this one didn't quite, like that one, I should have done this with a different color, it's easier to see. But see how I've skipped one here and I haven't skipped one on the other side? It doesn't really matter. What matters is that you've got the tension and that you wrap 12 of these suckers. So I'm going to go kind of fast because it's kind of like watching paint dry, right? So I'm just going to, and you guys can see in the back, I come around the front, I put it in a channel, I go around the button, I come back around. This is a real challenge. Why did I choose this gray thread? That's what I'm asking myself, because it's really hard to see. Sorry, Brandon, I'm going all over the place. You might want to go all the way out to see this. I don't know.
Well, it's a little.
If you guys can see this
at
okay.
the top of the shot, so I'm just trying to.
Let me stop and count my threads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're almost there, you guys. Wrapping.
So I think this is Janice who posted this. She says you can use.
Oh, somebody was
Rick's.
asking about a Rick's loom,
Oh, I see.
and then somebody also asked about a baby loom.
Oh, I see.
Sure.
jewel loom.
Oh, the baby jewel loom's too small
Hmm.
because it's for things like rings or
earrings.
pendants,
Okay.
smaller things. So that baby jewel loom is a little too small for what we've got going on here. But you know what? Any loom that's your favorite loom will work.
And Janice also mentioned that using the design board, you can use more, like, what is the warp that's not used? You can
Yeah, you can pull
turn
it around.
Yeah, So it's a
Exactly.
little longer. And it's not
Exactly.
so confined. I
Yeah.
guess.
The thing though, like if you're traveling this summer, I have a project up on beadshop.com called the Illusion Cuff.
Mhm.
And the illusion I did especially for
Right.
this, because this really is so portable and light, easy to hold. Like if you're doing this on the plane,
Right.
it's not as bulky as that big board.
Right.
So let's see, 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. All right. So now I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to tie off my, or cut off my thread, and I'm going to bring this around, and see how I've made a loop there. I'm just going to pull this thread through that loop, and I'm going to bring it around the other side. If you left this tail longer, I could tie those two together, but that's not going anywhere.
Cool.
Okay, so now I come to this side, and this is kind of, as my friend Mary likes to say, looks like the dog's breakfast, because this will be easier for you to see. See how none of the channels are right, right? So the way that this project is made, or is laid out, and I'll bring the finished one here. If I've got my channels, so I've got 2 small channels, then I've got 1 bugle bead channel, 1 small 11/0 channel, 1 bugle bead channel, 1 small 11/0, 1 big bugle bead. The bugle beads are getting longer by the drawing. 1 of these, and then 2 at the end.
Right.
Okay, so these are the bugles right here, and then these are the little 11/0. Okay, so we want to lay out our warp so it's like this. Now, Gracie, you've made, if you pull your little guys here, we had been playing around with the color order and how we wanted to lay it out and do all of this stuff.
Show the
We
thing
also, I've got this one, and then we also, and I'll pull this one in to show the difference here as well. I played around with the layout of these beads, and the thing that really dictated how wide I was going to make this piece was this ribbon clasp. So when I did my first looming, I thought, oh, I wanted a really heavy border, and I was just going to use 3 of the bugle beads. Well, then we got these clasps in, and then it was like, no, that's not going to work. So we had to create the right width to make sure that the width of the piece fit in that ribbon clasp. And the width of that is, I'll tell you how long that clasp is. It's about, well, 1.5 inches about is this ribbon clasp. So what we started to play around with was the color gradation. So you can see, like with mine, how I started in the middle and I used kind of these matte iris bugles, and then I went out to the plain Montana blue, then I went to the green, then I went to the lighter blue, and then kind of so on with that. Grace, what you started to play around with were different color layouts. Here, like the ombre. And so if you guys want to play around with your kind of color layout, what we've shown here is we've just strung our seed beads on these little head pins, and you can kind of see how the color gradation would start to work. And so it really depends on what layout you like. Now on your finished one, Grace,
it evolved.
Yeah.
It evolved. It didn't stay like this. And maybe, and we were talking about this before we went on air, but maybe 2 wasn't enough to demo, but just to show how you can play with it before you actually loom it. But this is how it turned out. So we started with the darker. Can you see that okay, Brandon?
Yeah, it helps if you turn it up. That's perfect.
So we start with the darker, and then this was actually your suggestion, to do the red on either side and then transition it out. So
it kind of has that ombre feel to it.
Right. But yeah, this is how it started when I was
playing around with the color.
right.
And for me, since mine is kind of reversed, so my single band is the lightest one, and then my multiple bands are dark. So it's kind of a little bit of reverse.
Yeah.
But however you want to lay these out, really, you do you.
Right.
Looks good.
Cool.
So, so I poured out all of my little beads.
Really.
And you can see I've used my little guy right here. And so what I can also use though is my head pin, or eye pin in this case. I'm going to put this piece of paper behind it so you can see. I can see how many, and I'll pull it up here, about how many spaces I'm going to need for this. So I know for my first 2 little sections, my little channels for looming, I know that I'm going to start with my 11/0. So the 11/0 really just needs 1 channel. So see how I've got my knotting tweezer, and I move that one over and I say, okay, great, that's good for my first 2, and then I'm going to turn it around this way, and I'll make these 2 work. I'm going to bring this one over, and see how I can just kind of, whoops, that came over a little bit too far. That's okay. I'm going to put it about right there. That looks like it's even. And I'll move this one over, so that's my channel there, and then here's my other channel there. Now I know that for that come on, paper, let me fold it in half, give it a little bit of body.
Not that your shirt is doing the lines one direction.
There we go. Maybe I shouldn't, yeah, I'm stripey today. I know that I need about 3 channels for that.
For the bugle.
For the bugle. So I'm going to pull it in, and I'm going to double check, and that looks about right. So you can see I've got 1, 2, 3 empty channels.
Got it.
And so then I'll just go by my little schematic here that I've drawn on the paper, so I know I need 1, and then I skip 3. 1, 2, 3. So I'll bring this guy over. 1, oh, they're so hard to see. My eyes are like, really? 1, 2, 3. There we go. I bring this one over to make a single channel. I'll bring this one over to make 3. There.
Lynn is asking what size are the bugles?
Oh, Lynn, that's a good question. We can look them up. Unless Janice, if you're watching, you can double check. All I know is, Lynn, I got them off the wall, and that's what I used. How's that for an answer?
I don't know.
They might
6
be
millimeter, you
6
know.
millimeter.
Oh, yeah,
There we go.
she said.
Thank
6
you.
by 1.5. Oh, a cop is pulling someone over outside.
Oh, we can hear him. So see, it takes a little bit of wrangling.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry, I know this is, again, a little bit like watching paint dry, but you guys can see that. So we can see that we've got all of this lined up right here, so this is ready to go. And then I'll just make it match on this side. I'll pull this one out a little bit. But using this, this knotting tweezer is really helpful, I think, to get everything where it should go. Especially that curved knotting tweezer. See how they just want to fall right into place. So there's my 3, then I need to count over here. I need to move that guy over. 1, 2, 3, so that guy goes over there. I've got a single strand. But this really is the hard part, you know, setting up your loom, you guys. And your loom, when you wind it, you may be a little bit more, it may be a little bit easier for you to, you know, find these channels. But when I saw you, Grace, kind of trying to figure out where these were going to go, you don't have to be that precise when you warp this loom, you know, but then you just have to come in. There we go. I think I just need one more channel, so I'm just going to move these guys over. The knotting tweezer makes it really simple. And then I've got my 3 little channels there. Bam. 1, 2, 3. So this is warped and ready to go.
Right.
And so once you've done that, once this is ready, this is where the fun part, well, the fun part starts, is we want to make sure to remember to take this little bar out. So I'm going to pull it out, just like that. And this warping gives me the right tension for this. So we're good to go.
Okay. That's like an effortless spin.
It was right there,
right,
bam,
like that.
like
It
this.
was like, there you
Me
go,
and my
and then
Vanna,
it, like,
and there it is, done and done. So now, for the center, you guys, the center one, I start my looming in the middle. Because if you look at this one that I have here, can you see how the bands, I've started with that blue. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the light blue bands. So I started in the middle and started to work my way out. So I'm going to do that with the blue.
Well, can I tell you how I started?
Yeah, will you, yes you can. And will you?
Yeah, I just randomly started because you said you can start anywhere. Because you can, if you decide you like the light purple in the center, I can go back and make that the center. But
You can.
right now I've just started, so.
Right. So
But I
you
like
want-
what you did
Yeah.
with the
And
light in the center.
you know what? I'll be honest. I didn't start with the blue on this one. I started over here and then started working it out. So yeah, that's exactly what I did too.
Cool.
Yeah, I was totally lying. Totally lying. So now comes the great question, the question of how much thread do you cut, Kate, and to wax or not to wax? So I cut like a, what we call kind of a half a wingspan when I, you know, I touch my finger to my nose and pull my arm all the way out. So I have a nice long bit of thread, not so long that I can't manage it, but you know, adding thread is fairly easy, and I'm going to show you guys how to do it.
Can we just ask a quick question about the loom?
Sure.
Vanessa, and this is also my question, how do you get the loom to stop wobbling?
What do you mean?
Like, when I was looming, I guess I was looming on the table.
Yeah, I hold it in my hand, and I'll show you.
Okay.
When I actually do, I find it really easy just to hold in my hand. So you can see, you guys, I've put a couple of passes of wax on this thread. Now, Gracie, you don't wax.
You don't wax. I tried waxing when I was doing the loom. I was trying to do it Kate Richburg style
Well,
to see how I liked it.
To see the pitfalls, yes.
And it worked. It's just not how I would do it.
Yeah.
That's all.
And I think either way, whatever works for you to wax or not wax is fine. Now, I'm going to needle this like Emily has showed us, which is I'm holding the little bit of thread through just against my thumbnail, and I'm going to put the eye of the needle on the thread rather than trying to shove the thread through the needle. And look at that. I got it first time through, which is kind of amazing. And so now I'm going to start with those blue beads. So I'm going to pull those out. And I know that I have 4 beads across. And then I have a bunch of my little beads here. So the first one, you guys, is always the one that's daunting. So just stick with me here. I'm going to grab 2 of my 11-aughts, 1 of my bugles, and as you're doing this, if you need to quality control your beads, once in a while there's one that's not quite right, just cast it out. It's okay. So now I've done these. So the pattern is 2 11-aughts, 1 bugle, 1 11, 1 bugle, 1 11, 1 bugle, 1 11, 1 bugle, 2 11-aughts.
Oh, your friend Meredith from Joy Designs, I believe.
Hi, Meredith.
She says that if you want it to stop wobbling and you're not using your hand, sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, do it.
She said use a tacky bead mat.
That's really smart, Meredith. Meredith is also from Beadalon, our buddies at Beadalon, so we really appreciate you watching, Meredith, and that is a great tip. Do we have a sticky bead mat here, don't we?
I think we do.
We have them.
And Ginger says the first row is
Do you
the
wanna
hardest, which is
It is.
very true.
Do you want to grab a sticky bead mat off the wall?
Yeah.
Let's just do it.
And then she also said that she marks it with Sharpie.
Oh, Ginger does?
Yeah.
I think they're right inside this, or they moved. Did we move them?
It should be over the tools.
So you can see, you guys, while Gracie's getting me that mat, you can see I'm just going to come in and I'm going to place all of my little guys in their little channel, or as Janice likes to say, they're each driving their own little highway, their own little lane in the highway. So even if this gets a little screwed up at this point, it's the second pass where you have to fix it. So I'm not gonna even worry. See, I'm just gonna pull that through. I've got some extra thread down here. So if they don't want to stay in your channel, I'll show you how to tame them. I'm gonna get my first little beads. I'm going to stick them in their channel, and I'm going to just needle back through them. There we go. And again, it's this first row, you guys, that's going to set you up for success. So see how I push this 1/0 through, or this 11/0 through? Watch what I do with my needle. As I'm pushing my needle through, I'm kind of scraping the top of the bead hole with my needle so that I make sure and catch my thread is catching on the bottom and on the top to push these little beads into place. And that's essentially what's holding these guys into place, right? Is a needle on the top, or a thread rather, on the top and the bottom. So see, I just pop that in the little channel. I tell these beads, I'm the boss of you. And I get this needle through the hole, and I keep going.
We don't have the sticky mat, but we thought we might
Oh,
try
I
this
thought we
one.
had sticky mats. No, are we out?
We are maybe not continuing to sell them?
I
or-
don't know. I don't know. Well, sticky mats
You
are a
wanna
good
try it?
idea. I'll try it in just a second.
Okay.
I thought we had sticky mats, but who knew? Come on now.
I'm going to cut the sample work off so I
Okay.
can...
There we go. So
There's
you
our
can
bit.
see they're in there, and see how I push underneath with my finger here, and I just needle that thing through there. Again, who's the boss of these beads, you guys? I am. I'm the boss of those beads. Don't be daunted. And there it goes. Okay, so yeah, and I'll take that little mat, Gracie. I'll
Cool.
put it underneath there. Yeah, that totally helps.
Nice.
And I'm going to slide my thread through, and I just want to make sure that I have a single thread. Okay, so I just want to make sure that's good to go. Now, I don't want anything to be twisted, and you can see everything is nice and tight, everything's even. I check. Now look what happened. This is something that happens, and it's really okay. See how my little, I made sure to check my threads, but see how this bead landed on that side? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide it underneath, put it back into place. No need for tears. No need to weep. And I'm going to lock this strand or this line in place one more time so that all of my beads are staying in their little channels. So I'm going to take my needle. I'm going to make sure that I'm not pulling my thread out. Get in their channel. So I want to make sure that I'm not going to just leave my thread and have it go back through. So I'm going to go around that end of that warp thread, and then I'm going to come back through. Locking, really locking all of these bad boys in place. The other reason why I like starting in the middle is that my hands aren't up here against this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And kind of going, hey, why isn't this working?
Makes total
right?
sense. Someone said use duct tape or blue tacky.
Oh, to hold all of your kind of channels open.
Mary Ellen says you have a calm and mesmerizing voice. It's like meditation.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
Thanks. Well, that's a first. Thank you. Thank you.
You can start a whole other business.
Right, I can. Zen, the Zen of looming. So can you see, you guys, now I can kind of pull on both of these, and I can, not too tight, but everybody looks like they're driving in their own lane. So now I am going to go for it. I'm going to do one more round, and we're going to put on two, and then what do we use? We use a bugle. And this little mat is also nice because our little bugles don't fall around here. Now, Gracie, when you were doing yours,
Yes.
were you encountering any of these issues as you were starting, or you were just taming yours right from the get-go?
I think my challenge was definitely when I was trying it on the jewel loom, I couldn't keep it stable, and so my issue on the jewel loom was that I couldn't really start the first row.
Right, because
very
it was
well.
moving around
yeah,
a lot.
I wasn't familiar, but because it's on the board here now and I could get my tension right, I could just put my
It's a
finger,
little more stable.
I don't know if you can see that. I just keep my finger underneath it so that I can
it helps
just,
with the
yeah,
tension, right.
right.
And so that's the same thing here. So if I have my jewel loom, I hold my jewel loom a lot in my hands. Let me make sure that I've got everything correct here. A lot in my hands this way, and it's fairly light.
I see.
So I can pick it up like this, if that makes sense. And then I'll just slide these all the way back through. Again, touching the top, kind of lightly scraping the top of each bead with my needle, so that I know that the thread on top and there's a thread on bottom locking this in. And again, we want to pull this out a little bit. And the thing now I want to show you is, see how in between your bugles you might have a little bit of space? We want this to be physically tight. No, let me try that again. Visibly tight, but not physically tight.
Right.
Okay? Because when we take this off the loom and we put the clasp on the end, this needs a little bit of air to breathe. So now what I can also do, see, I've got this needle that I've done here, I can also start working in the opposite direction. So that's why I kind of have half my tail of thread on the other side as well. So I can kind of work my way out with both of these threads. So let me put one more on, and then we'll talk about adding threads. So questions so far, Grace?
I'm trying to
Sounds
catch up
like
on
there's
the feed.
Sounds like there's some crazy stuff going
A lot
on
of
the
talking
feed.
about how soothing your voice is.
I think there are a
Oh.
couple of people who are a little intimidated by this.
No, you guys, come on. They're only
You have
beads.
to try it. You
How
have
many-
to, no matter what.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. I started this project like 4 times, right? With the bead layout. Gracie's all, with the bead layout and stuff. You know, it's okay. I am showing you like the fruits of my practice, you know, and my labor. So they're only beads. They're really easy to cut up and redo. So don't you worry. what I love about the Jewel Loom also is I can kind of come at it from both sides. It's easy to kind of turn it around
Totally.
back and forth. Since I'm right-handed,
Right.
I like to needle from the right side.
We had a question, I think it was Sandy, who asked
Mhm.
about maybe carrying other colors of bugles in 6 and 12.
Oh, Sandy, yes, you're talking Janice's language. Janice, we already have looked at adding some of the new bugles. So this is we've just actually started with these. So don't you worry, you will see you'll see more bugles coming down the path. So see here we go. So now I'm well on my way, and I'm going to be able to work
Right.
out in both directions.
Right.
Now, let me show you about adding a thread, okay? Because that, I think, people get a little, oh my god, I've got to add thread. What am I going to do now? But I'm going to show you, okay? Ain't no thing. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention are these Jewel Loom needles. You know, we are using these looming needles. What I have found is that these long needles like this,
Fantastic.
they're fantastic to work with, but they can also snap
Really?
easily, fairly easily. I don't know if you've had that happen
Nope.
to you, but I've had it happen to me. And for those of you who do seed bead work, you know that when we are using our seed bead needles, our shorter ones, our size 10 or size 12s, we do a lot of bending with we kind of put pressure on them like this with our thumb and our fingers.
I see.
These needles don't want that pressure. These needles, so try not to bend them or they will just snap right in half. So do be aware of that. So here's my little piece that I've done here. And what I've done previously, and I should have left the thread on so you could see it, I had maybe, I don't know, maybe about 8 inches of thread left coming out of the side.
Okay.
And then what I did was I worked my way back, so I knew that was about all I was going to do. So I dropped down to one row and I went through all the way through, and then one more row all the way through. And then what I did on the third row was I went maybe like, I don't know, halfway, like to about here, pulled it through, and then turned that corner,
Interesting.
came back through and back through. The thing that locks thread in when you're doing seed beads, when you're changing threads, is if you do some tight corners like this, back and forth, that's what holds that thread in.
Did not know.
Okay, so I'm going to do that same thing, adding this thread. I'm going to get, I don't know, another, not too long of a piece because this is just a practice. Where are my thread snips?
Oh,
There they are.
sorry.
Thank you. Hoarding my thread snips. No, we're sharing. So I, of course, am going to wax because I like to wax my thread. And notice I have kind of a light gray background. Gracie's using a dark one. Just depends on what color you like to use. But since we had this nice gray board, I thought I'd use that. Again, a little hard to see the threads.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Patrice is asking if you're using 2 needles, which you are not.
I was using 2 needles, Patrice, for the center one. So I had a needle on both sides.
Oh.
So I was. So like on this one
you
here,
were using 2
I
needles?
was. I had a needle on this one and a needle on this one that's still
Really?
on there. I
Huh.
did.
Interesting.
I
didn't
did.
see that. I was too busy.
I'm
sorry.
so fast.
I was listening, but I wasn't
You're all,
watching.
and you didn't? I'm all, and I actually did.
Grace.
But now, since I'm going in one direction, I'll just have a needle on one end.
And also, could we prop it up so they can see it
You
a little
bet.
bit better? We had a lot of nice comments, Kate. How I think it was Patrice who actually was the one who called it out first. I might be wrong. I'm going to scroll up. But let me see. Somebody said, we're already at 200 viewers live right now. And then
Oh.
somebody else, I think it was
Yahoo.
Mel, who was saying, oh, you guys, do you notice how it increases every week? And Brandon and I do.
Oh.
Well, I noticed from the very beginning
Yeah.
because, you know, we were seeing the numbers go up, but then Brandon and I remark behind the camera, like, look at our numbers.
Oh,
and
it's so great.
It's awesome.
Well, we really appreciate you guys. You know, Janice and I always say this, and you know, Grace and I say this. We all say this because, you know, the staff also is listening to the broadcast while they're working. But it's really cool. We really love that we're bringing kind of this international beading audience. You know, we love that we're all gathering kind of around the bead table. So we appreciate the word of mouth, the shares, all of that really means a lot to us. So can you see how I've needled through, I put that thread through, and I'm just going to come, just, I don't know, this is a couple of inches, not much, okay? Now I'm going to make that sharp turn back through the next row, and that little sharp U-turn, I'll show you as I pull my thread tight, how it really, see, it locks that thread in. So I'm going to do that sharp U-turn one more time here, like so.
Oh, I'm sorry, it was Trish who noticed we were at 200.
Oh, thank you, Trish. Oh my goodness. Well, I really appreciate it, you guys. We really appreciate the watching, and teaching is really kind of the foundation of what beadshop.com is built on. So we really appreciate that you guys are down with us with this. So see here, I've come out. Now I'm just going to run all the way through, like so. And once you have this established, see how my needle just slides all the way through? All of that fumbling at the beginning is really worth it just to get everything set up. So again, nice and visually tight, you guys, but not so physically tight that things will buckle. And you can see, you may have noticed in this one, the Jewel Loom one, how I've got a little bit of buckling, but it really, you kind of, it kind of works itself out fairly quickly within a few rows. Okay.
And the only reason you were using the two needles was because you were going in two
I was
different
starting in the
directions?
middle, right.
Yeah.
So I was using the two needles because I was starting in the middle, going off in two different directions. Okay.
But you don't need to do
No.
Okay, so Patrice is again asking about the two needles. Do we need them, or was it just to demonstrate what you were doing?
You know, I had them, it comes in a package of 6, so I used one on one, one on the other, so I wouldn't have to stop.
Awesome.
And so I just, you know, if I went in the center and I said, oh, I'm going to work a few rows this way, then I'm going to work a few rows that way, I didn't have to keep taking my needle on and off.
Got it. Cool.
So it was for speed. So let me put on these guys here. And so now I'll keep going as, you know, acting as if my thread is added, and I am ready to add another row. And you can see, you'll just put them on, and you'll just go underneath. And this little guy, I bet you're wondering, you're all, well, what do you do with this? Well, gang, all I do is I come in and I clip that away. Okay, so this is all ready to keep going. And you can see on this one, I had also just used rows of 2 rather than rows of 3. But I liked kind of the wider bands of color. But you can do, again, whatever you like. So now, here it comes, Gracie.
Uh-oh.
We're going to close this sucker off.
Oh.
All right? So don't let that strike fear into your hearts, you guys. Mostly I'm giving myself a pep talk right here. So what we're using is we're using these little ribbon clamps, which I kind of love. I think that they're really a great sturdy way to finish this off. I think it looks nice. It has kind of a nice contemporary feel to it. Yeah.
Okay. We have another question about the double needles.
Yes.
When you start in the center, how do you know how much thread to leave on the opposite side? Well, that
I don't know.
kind of calls
Yeah.
to adding the thread
Yeah.
too.
I mean, I just kind of looked and went, oh, that looks about halfway.
Okay.
So don't stress it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to, I could always add thread going in the opposite direction. So there's no real hard and fast. Don't be thrown off by the 2 needles, you guys.
Right.
It's okay.
Also, we have a new viewer that everyone has been welcoming so graciously.
I love this new viewer.
It's Mary.
Hi, Mary.
And last week, I think we had
Naruz, maybe? What was Naziz?
No. It was Marika.
She was our friend from Iran or Pakistan.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was so wonderful. And thank you everyone who welcomes our new guests.
Yeah, we love it.
What a great little community it is.
Oh, you guys.
Manaz,
that's right. Manaz, we hope you're watching this week. We stalked you a little bit on Facebook and saw some of your finished pieces.
Right.
I have to confess I did, because I wanted to see your beadwork, and it was awesome. So let's take a look at this end. Now, in a very similar manner to the way that we've finished off some of our tapestry pieces, I'm finishing this off just the same way. This length, I know you guys are wondering, well, Kate, how long did you make this length? Well, I made it 5 inches. And you're going to ask me, Grace, why did you make it 5 inches, Kate? I'm going to tell you. So these 194Fs, these little 11-aught hex seed beads, they're a little spendy because they're fancy. They're palladium plated, right? So they're a beautiful metal bead, but they're a little spendy. And the way that we sell them is we sell them in 5-gram tubes, and 5 grams is just about the right length for 5 inches of looming. Now, our seed beads, the bugle beads, there's plenty. So if you did want to make yours a little bit longer, you will have to grab an extra tube of these. But I thought I would do this just for the 5 inches of looming. And I'll show you guys
how you can adjust the length.
Yeah, how we're going to adjust the length. And you can see, this is actually just, well, when I measured it yesterday at home, there it is, 5 inches. I'm not counting this weaving that I've done here.
Okay.
So you can see just the beadwork is 5 inches. And notice what I did here, you guys. I wanted to show you, I thought it might be easier to see, so I put an ending row that was a different color just to kind of give it a closure, like a final. So you can see here I've got an extra bit of thread, and I've woven it, it's come out here, so I'm going to show you how I actually close that up. But I'm going to add this thread, just kind of go with me here. I'm going to add this.
There's a question about the length of the thread that
Yeah, again, this thread, use a length of thread that you're comfortable with. This is, I don't know, I'll measure it right now. It is, such as it is, I don't know, maybe a yard of thread, maybe. That sounds about right to me. But you'll hit your stride with your thread. But again, don't be afraid of adding your thread, because too long of a thread can be kind of a pain in the bottom.
I was just going to say, I actually have been adding thread as I go because I don't know which side I want to add to when I'm going, and having the really long thread, I get it caught on the corner of my bead tray, and I'm having to hold my tray and manage my thread. So
yeah, so don't be afraid. Like this piece of thread here, I'm going to go back in and weave this in a little bit later. So, pardon me, I gave myself a piece of thread that was a little bit longer.
I see.
So I'm going to put on that final row of blue. I don't know what I was thinking. I just thought it made it look nice at the end. You can do that or not. I don't know. I felt like I wanted it, so I did it. So I'm going to put on that final row of blue. So a lot of times, you guys, this is where your piece, you're like going along and you're saying, all right, everything's great. This looks awesome. And, you know, then you come to the closure part and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I will say a lot of times I make my piece, I'll set it aside, and I'll close it the next day when I'm fresh. I'll really be honest. I think it makes a difference. So unless you're rushing against a deadline which I am doing a lot of the time, I don't always close my piece off on the same day that I make it. And that goes for setting stones if I'm soldering, or putting a clasp on if I'm doing stringing.
Well, it also is nice revisiting what you did the day before
Yeah.
and seeing it with kind of fresh eyes.
No, I agree, because then you think, well, maybe I wanted to add this or do this, so, you know, it's an endurance, you guys, not a race. It's, you know, so if you don't have to close it off, you might want to try that tip. So now comes the part where I'm going to do this weaving. So I'm going to pull my thread down past kind of where it meets there, and I'm going to weave with a double strand, which is also why you want a lot of thread here at the end. So if you don't have a bunch when you're finishing it off, if you don't have like at least 20 inches or maybe even more, maybe almost a yard, because the yard that I added is just about the right length, go ahead and add in your thread so you have enough to weave. So see how I'm just going in and out, and this doubled thread that I'm using, as I pull it through, it's like making a little header and a little footer on the piece. And see, that doubled strand gives me 2 strands, double what I'm doing, so I don't have to keep weaving back and forth so much. So there's one pass, and I'm going to do this a few times to make my little header or footer, to make it wide enough so that when it goes in my clasp, it's about this length, which is about, I'll measure it, 1, 2, maybe it's about 3/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit shorter. But you'll see, this is all going to come together, so stick with me here. See how I'm pushing it down? If it's not quite even, it's okay. You just tell that thread who's in charge, you're in charge, and just gently slide it down. Now this is really important, you guys, not to make this part too tight. And I'm going to show you on my little sample over here what happens. What happened? What happens when it gets too tight? Okay. I'm here to make these mistakes, so when you do this, your pieces will be perfect. So just slide that in, going back and forth, back and forth. And so see, I'm starting to get that little footer. I'm going to call it a footer. I'll go through.
Is it called a weft?
Yeah, well, we call it the weft. As we go through to the right and the left, it rhymes with weft. So this is the weft part of the looming. The warp is the north and south, or the up and down parts, and the weft is the right and left, or east and west part. I also do some looming in real life on a loom with fiber. So I love the way looming is.
Actually,
So,
speaking of looming, we had a question about if someone had heard, what was it? I'm trying to find it. It was something like a 2-something loom or something like that.
I think I saw it, but I don't remember.
No, ask that question again. Maybe I can, or I'll go back in and look at the comments later. I'm going to go through one more time. See, I'm getting short, you guys. All I have is enough thread for maybe one more weft pass, but it should do it. And I could always add thread here. I guess some of you might be thinking, Kate, could you add thread there? I could kind of have it go down in here and come back up. See also how I'm using my needle as kind of like a little heddle almost, kind of push this down again to make it taut, visually tight, but not physically tight.
It was Christine, and she asked about the two-tail method, if anyone had heard of it.
I don't know, two-tail method.
Don't know it myself.
No.
I'm not a loomer.
So there we go. And then I've got it over here. So now I'm going to get my trusty Zap glue along with the toothpicks that my mama sent me, so I'd have toothpicks.
260 watching,
Yeah.
Joanne
What?
said.
Hooray!
Yeah, that's really.
So this, you guys, is the thing. This is where we use glue. So I need to take a big breath, not a big breath of the glue, but just a big breath, center myself, and say that everything's going to be okay, all right? Because we want to use a liberal amount without using too much, okay? So I'm going to come in, and I'm just going to make a little line of the Zap. Can you see? It's the Zap No Drip Glue Gel. I'm going to make a little line right here, okay? Little line, not very carefully, not getting it on the beads, right? I'm going to hand it over to Gracie to put the lid on.
Yep.
Now I'm going to get my trusty toothpick, and I'm going to spread that glue.
Yeah, we're up to 300.
Because you
Oh
know
my
who's in
gosh.
charge. Who's in charge of that glue, you guys?
You are.
Thank you, Grace.
You know, whenever you ask the audience, I always feel like calling out because I'm
That's
kind
so
of that,
funny.
that kind of
Right,
person,
that person.
like in the audience. Like,
I am too. That's
no.
totally me.
But then I'm behind the camera, so I
Right.
feel like it's inappropriate.
No, you
but
can
I'm
always
like,
call it out. You're all
Kate, I
me.
have the answer.
I have
I'm
the
sitting
answer.
right here across
That's right.
from you.
Ask me. Ask me. Would you open this up for me
Yeah,
one
yeah,
more
yeah.
time?
It's just like,
Notice how I've come up with the baggie behind it, so I'm not gluing this to my hand to make it a permanent part of me. So I've got this little baggie on the back, and I'm just really, see, I added just a little bit more. I'm really saturating this all the way with my glue, just like so. Okay, then I'll take the baggie out. Now, I really want to make sure. This is where I get a lot of emails about, well, Kate, I took my piece off the loom and it's too dang tight, okay? So when I have this tight and I glue this in, when I glue this other side in, it's going to smush my beads together, right? So I really just come in and I make sure that I've got a little bit of air and that my warp down here isn't super tight. Just going to make sure. Now I'm going to flip it around. I'm going to cut away this needle. So it's, and I think I can safely cut away that thread. And I'm going to cut these threads away
they were trying to get it to 400, now we're over 400.
like that.
Wow.
You guys are crazy. I love it. So see here, I'm going to add this bag underneath again. And I'm just going to kind of move everything. We're going to hope for the best, and we're going to go for it. As Julia Child says, we have the courage of our convictions, right? We're just going to add that glue across, like so. I'm going to use my toothpick and very carefully not getting the glue on the beads, and see how I can manipulate that warp just a little bit with my toothpick there before that glue sets up. It's okay. You've got this. You're in charge. There we go. Really saturating, just making sure that everything is happy. You know, happy little beads, just like Bob Ross, right?
I'm gonna say something.
Yeah.
You were like, and everything is happy. And that concludes
Happy.
today's
And that
meditation.
concludes today's. Everyone take a deep breath of the Zap glue. And we'll all be fine. Just kidding. Okay, so I'm going to leave that to the side for just a second. And I want to show you in this sample, there's some things that we've got to look at. Okay? So here's my sample. I'm going to take this off actually for a second. Come here. So here's my sample, and notice this was a sample that I had done earlier that I had noticed that it wasn't going to be the right length, but I still just used this as my little sample for the closure, for the demo. And this is something, these little ribbon clamps are not very expensive. They're fairly inexpensive. So if you want to make yourself a little sampler like this to see, to practice before you actually do it on your big giant piece, it might not be a bad idea because then you'll get the hang of it. So here's some of the things that I've learned. Can you see on this side, first of all, let me backtrack. Can you see how it's kind of tight here? See how this this row is kind of coming up and this row is kind of pushing down? I didn't have enough air when I did these warps. And these warps kind of, when I glued them and then I smushed them, they smushed everything in tight and gave me this kind of tightness here.
It's a technical term, smush.
Yeah, smush. It is extremely technical. Notice also, this was the ribbon clasp, the side that I did first. Can you see those little marks there? Not pretty. We don't like marks. So that's where, remember at the beginning of the broadcast, you guys, when I talked about our chain nose pliers and why they had tape? This is why. Because when I went to put in the second side, I taped my pliers and it didn't mark my metal. Now you may be asking, well, Kate, why didn't you use just our friend, the Nylon Jaw Plier?
Why didn't you?
That's a great question, Gracie. Because if I go, this is a little slippery. So see, as I'm trying to do this, I can't quite get enough grip on.
Makes sense.
And if I grip it too far back, it doesn't have the oomph that this metal plier has. Okay? So if it's taped, I can just come in and I can have kind of the power of a metal plier behind it, but I'm not marking it.
That's
and I just put 2 little layers of tape.
So smart.
But you could put, well, I'm a smarty pants. I'll show you what I did. I just got my little tape. This would be layer number 3, which might not be a bad idea. And then I just taped it down there. And that makes a little pad for the heads of my tools. And then what you can do is you can just tear this off when you're done. But this is ready. Okay, so now let's go ahead and put these ribbon clamps on the real one, shall we?
Sounds good.
Shall we? So we just cut it off. Shall I do it? Here goes. I'm cutting. Don't be afraid. Cut it away. Bam. And then we say, hey little guy, how are you? And it doesn't look, whoops, of course there was a little bit of glue on there. That doesn't look so good. We're going to pretend that it's not on there. I'll turn it to the other side. And it doesn't look too tight. It's a little, I could have actually even used a little bit more air. But it's not too bad. So I'm going to just kind of adjust it a little bit still while it's off. So I've got a little bit of air. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut these pieces away. So what you want to do, I'm just going to also cut this thread away because it's bugging me. You really want to make sure when you glued this that you glued this top row so that now when you trim everything off, these warp threads aren't going to pull back through. But they won't because they're glued. Okay? You could, if you wanted, cut these threads real long and weave them back through the piece. You could totally do that if you wanted. But I'm not going to. I'm going to throw caution to the wind because I know I can really see that these are really nicely glued. And the Zap glue sets up pretty quickly, you guys. In real life, if I were doing this, not in demo time, but in real life time, I would have allowed this glue to sit undisturbed 24 hours.
Can I just mention 2 things? So Joanne says that painter's tape would work too, she thinks, because it's slightly thicker to start, not too slippery.
Sure, on your tool. That's probably actually what I would use, but I don't have any hanging around here.
And Faye is asking if there's an alternative way to close this project off.
Sure, Faye. I mean, if you look at our tricks to looming, and it's actually the way I was going to close these off. Janice does this cool thing with leather where she closes it with a piece of the ultra suede and closes it off that way. I think that would look delicious.
I think compassion suede and
Compassion
ultra
suede, yeah. And she does it with a button.
Right.
Those would be fantastic ways to do it as well. So you don't have to do it like this. If you go to the projects page under Tricks to Looming, you'll see a whole bunch of different closures there. But I thought this ribbon clamp was kind of cool. So
it is nice.
all I do here is, you guys, I'm going to slide this in. And I really want to show, see, this clamp has teeth. It looks a little scary. Where's a clamp that's not clamped? Do you have a, I'm going to grab this loose clamp. Can you see the teeth? Looks like it's going to chomp your piece, okay? Where you want it to chomp your piece is right here. We don't want to chomp on the beads, because if we do, we're going to break that bead. So the little teeth, we're aiming for like right next to the beads. So I'm going to bring it in. You could add a little bit of glue, but I found that we don't need to. I'm going to slide this on. Brandon, are my hands okay? Can you see me?
You see your hands.
Okay.
More than,
Well,
so if you turn it.
Yeah, give me
that's
some
great.
direction, just if I need
Perfect.
to move,
Yeah,
okay?
just so that they can see that towards the hand.
So I'm going to make sure that this is even, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to close. I'm going to turn it towards me so I can see it. I'm going to close it really gently on one side, and then I'm going to do the same on the opposite side. Can you see that? So I've closed here and here. Now I'm going to carefully walk my plier down. I'm trying to show this so you guys can see it.
A good angle.
I'm going to gently walk the plier, closing it down, all the while not coming in contact with any of those glass seed beads.
Okay. Charlene wants to know.
See that?
Sorry.
No.
Didn't mean to interrupt. Charlene wants to know if you create a did you create a salvage? I'm not really sure.
Yeah, that's a selvage, exactly, Colleen. Colleen?
Charlene.
Charlene,
Or
it
Charlene,
acted
maybe.
like a little bit of a selvage edge on your fabric, and so that's what this clamp is biting into. It's biting into the thread, not your beads.
And Jesse James Beads says,
Hi,
"This is a
Jesse
beautiful
James
project, and he
Beads.
loves
Hi,
our videos."
Sarah. Thank you.
And we had a question.
We love you
from
guys too.
Linda, who says, I think she's talking about the jewel loom and about the buttons on the back of the jewel loom, getting the threads completely off because hers is a mess. So maybe we can talk about that at the end.
Sure. I don't know. I'll turn this over right
An
now.
X-Acto knife even.
Yeah, or I can just, I mean, I don't tie them on, so these come off. This one, I'll just kind of, I don't know, wiggle all this stuff off and, I don't know, keep hacking at it maybe to kind of get it all off there. But I only do one tie off at the end, that one tie, so maybe that's why it's easier for me to take those all off.
So was it, you said Sarah, who's on Jesse James?
Yeah.
She said, or Jesse James Beads
Yes,
says,
Sarah
"These
James.
videos are amazing."
Oh, thank you, Sarah. I hope I'll get to see you also in Beadfest Philly. I'm excited. I hope I get to see you there. So can you see, you guys, how that's clamped on? So we just do that on both sides, and I'm going to move over to this little sample piece so you can see that too. See how it's on both sides? So I'll do that same thing just right here real quick like, because I want to show you how we kind of do the closure. We're going over just slightly today, you guys, but this is kind of an intricate project, and I didn't want to rush it. I want to make sure that you guys have the learning down.
Kendra is asking if we have a picture of your zippered pattern loom bracelet that you made a few months ago.
Oh,
Free Tip Friday.
yeah, you know, I'll look for it. It's hanging around
Don't we
here
have it on
somewhere.
a blog post?
I think we do. I'll look for it, and Janice will post it in the episode notes. Okay, Kendra? And what we'll do, I'm going to come back in and tighten this a little bit better, just so it looks like this one, just because of the constraints of time. I want to show you guys. But Gracie, may I use your wrist? Because I'm going to size
Totally.
this and show you how we close this off.
This guy.
So we're going to use a 1 millimeter to close. Now, this would work for Gracie's wrist or my wrist. My wrist is a little bit bigger. But first, well, let me show you this.
Sure.
I'm going to slide this 1 millimeter leather through. Okay, like so. And I've got these ends right here. Let me make it even. Even Steven. Almost even. Come on, there we go. Now, we've got this new little slider bead that you can use with chain or with cord. But what it does is, I'm going to angle cut
And
my...
flick.
Angle cut and flick. Cut and flick. Cut and flick. There it goes. And see how I can put it through the opposite way. And the interior of this little bead has like a little silicone interior with a little hole in it. And that holds your thread, your cord in place. So let's put this on your wrist. And I'm going to tighten this up here, and tighten this up here, and tighten this down here.
That's cool. And
Right?
it's comfortable.
Yeah, look at how cool that is. And so then what I'll do is, since we want this to be able to fit you, Gracie, I'm going to come in and I'm just going to tie a little stopper knot here. Maybe that's a little long, but I'm going to go for it. You can always make them a little bit shorter. And a little stopper knot here. And then cut this away. Bam. And so then you can
Comfortable.
tighten that as much or as little as you need.
I
These might
love
be a
that.
little bit long, so you can, but look at how great that is.
That looks
So not
fantastic.
only will it fit you, and to open it, we just slide this and see the stopper knots, and then you can just slide your little hand right out of it, and I can slide my little hand right into it, and you can see how you can make this adjustable to fit a lot of different wrists. Done and done.
Can I ask a few questions?
Sure. There we go. Look at how cool that looks. I
that
love
looks
it. I love you.
amazing.
Love you, Lalique Looming.
What was that comment earlier about saying I love you to all of our beads?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's time. Let's go to the big because we want.
Melanie wants to know what our recommendation for more air using this design, or for this design using bugles. And let's see what else.
Wait. What was that? More air? What? What?
It says, what is your recommendation for more air for this design using the bugles?
So again, Melanie, just kind of as you're looming with the bugles, I'll tell you.
And the ribbon that goes through the bead is actually the 1 millimeter leather.
It is 1 millimeter leather.
And let's do another zoom in on your
Okay.
wrist.
And so this, so if I'm looming this way, okay, I don't want to push my
Right.
looming too tight like this. I want to make sure there's a little bit of room, not visual gaps, but just so it's not so super tight, so that it'll kind of, you know, be kind of janky on top of each other. Yeah, here we can.
Yeah, show the other side of it, I think.
Can you see? Can I?
There you go. Maybe that'll
Or
work.
that? I don't know. Is this working?
Then
I don't know what to
what
do.
you did was you tied the knots here after you put
Went
the leather
through.
through on either end, and you just tied the knot so that the
Right,
slider
the
bead
knots with
wouldn't
the little
come
stoppers.
out.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then it just like fits so nicely
Yeah.
on your wrist. Really looks nice.
Thanks. I'm kind of in love with it. I think it's really pretty.
Really, really beautiful.
And it's kind of an interesting way to do a closure, you know. It's a little different. I think it has a nice look to it. You could also use this ribbon clasp and have a jump ring and a regular clasp for it.
That's true.
You know, I would add maybe a couple of jump rings, so maybe there's a little bit of movement there, so your clasp isn't right up against that one. But you know, whatever works.
And Kim just asked about the size of the leather with that bead.
So these slider clasps work on 1 millimeter. We have another size. Let me take this off. We have another size, another one that you guys may,
Hold it up.
yeah, we can hold it up. The little round bead, that one goes for our 1 millimeter and 1.5. But I used 1 millimeter, you guys, because this ribbon clasp, and you could add a jump ring, but this 1 millimeter leather goes through the end of that ribbon clasp just fine. So that's why I chose this. But these round beads, and you can see these on our website, they talk about the dimensions and what they fit. But this is for that 1 millimeter, and this is for 1.5 to 2 millimeters, this guy here.
Zoom in on that.
Okay, oops, sorry, Brian.
Yeah, I'm just gonna get a nice, good close look.
Close up close and personal.
Okay.
Even something like this short little piece that I have, this would make a cute little pendant, right? I could come up here and string something here. I could add a dangle, or I could have just left the warp threads and strung those warp threads as a fringe, right? There's all kinds of stuff that you can do to be creative and inventive with that. Oh, I don't know about you. Woo! That was awesome. But wait, Gracie, there's a little bit more.
Yeah, there is a little bit more.
And I wanna share this. I'm gonna get this over here.
We did get some questions about your other bracelet
that's right.
and your necklace.
That's right.
Well,
I think we've done the necklace before.
So we'll kind of wrap this up and talk a little bit about what we've got coming up for Free Tip Friday and the things that you're wearing that are coming up on future Facebook Lives. And just to mention, you guys, on our website, beadshop.com, if you go to our top bar, it says Facebook Live right in the middle. If you click on that, you can find all of our episodes archived. So not only this one, but going all the way back to last October when we started doing this. You'll find materials lists. Janice has started doing, a few weeks back, she started doing episode notes that are kind of a synopsis of what goes on here. So it's a wealth of learning. So if you're new or have just started watching, you can kind of work your way back and work your way forward with us.
So the synopsis of the episode notes are also an interactive PDF. So you can actually directly click on whatever's underlined. It'll link to, so you don't have to look it up.
Right. It makes
it's all done for you.
She's made it so super easy. And then Karen posts those up. And they're usually posted by Monday afternoon following the broadcast. So these episode notes, right now it's Wednesday. You'll see those on Monday.
Right.
Okay, because Janice works so hard on them. She's so good. All right, so what have we got here?
So,
in front of us.
When Emily came on and we were talking about seed bead school, I was thinking when we talked for a long time about doing our own mixes, because Jen's our mix girl.
Yes.
So we wanted to do something fun and light for the summer and for the month of July, and we thought strawberry lemonade sounded fun.
Yeah, strawberry lemonade does sound fun.
Jen and I crafted these mixes of varying sizes. So there's 6/0, there's 11/0, there's 8/0. And we figured it would be cool to do some of Emily's seed bead school stuff with these mixes, but also just to have our own mixes. So every month we're going to try and come up with a new seed bead mix.
So this is our inaugural one for July 2017. Right. And they're limited editions, right? So we have a limited number of these. Right. But we also have the recipe. Right. So once we sell out of these, you guys can make your own.
Keep buying them. And you can keep the color code if you want it to be all in the same size seed bead. You don't have to mix them up like we do. But we like the texture. So and then you started doing something before we went on
did. So I took one of these home for the holiday weekend and I started to play around with them a little bit. And so what I did was I just started stringing this on soft flex. And what I added were a strand of shadows and a package of our Terahishi. And I'm just starting to string just to see how long
Right.
this would be.
Right.
And so I'm going to play a little bit more around with this a little bit more. And on Free Tip Friday, we're going to talk about what we would turn something like this into, necklace, bracelet, earring,
Right.
kind of thing.
Anklet.
And
earring,
yeah,
like you said, earring.
all of it, and how it would come just out of this one tube. So you'll see these at the beginning of every month. We're giving you a little bit of a sneak peek because they're officially going up this weekend, but you can find this product right in our Just In section. It's not even listed under seed bead mixes yet,
Right.
but if you go
it's
to Just
gonna
In,
have a home.
yeah, it's going
by-
to have a
by
whole
this
home.
weekend, but
yeah,
today it's just in.
in Just In, so you can find the seed bead
But it
mix.
was cool because it looks like it would be really appropriate for the across cultures.
Right, for the across cultures,
right.
for sure.
Just to change it up.
Because here, what you're wearing, and for those of you who've tuned in later, the bracelet that Gracie's wearing, we're going to do this on Facebook Live, not next week when Janice is back, but the following week.
Right.
And we're going to tackle the Across Cultures project, which
Right.
hasn't been tackled too much lately.
Right.
So,
And this, I know Mel asked earlier about this wood bracelet that I have. This one's from my own collection, which I'll talk about in about 2 weeks.
yeah, you're going
Yeah.
to talk a little bit about your jewelry designs
Right.
and stuff, which is going to be really fun. You'll
Yeah.
get a little bit of insight into
Right.
your design aesthetic,
this-
which is great.
And then the leftover beads always come to me.
They do?
So Cara had some leftover beads. She gave them to me, and I strung them up with some of my crystals. And that's
Yeah,
what
they look
this
great.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're a great designer,
Well,
Gracie
thank
Grace.
you. I learned from the best.
Well, it's a team effort here for sure. Well, you guys, we hope you enjoyed the Lalique Looming. As always, we've got some things for you at the end. So today is the 5th of July. Grace Noland.
How is that possible?
I don't know.
It was 2017, January 1st, like yesterday.
I know, like yesterday. Well, we had, these past few days, we had a great holiday sale in honor of American Independence Day. And today is our last day
Right.
for that. So we wanted to mention it. I'm going to give you that, Gracie. And this discount is good until midnight tonight. It's
Right.
the 5th of July, 2017. And we had a 30% off store-wide
Right.
for our newsletter subscribers. And so if you don't open that newsletter, you wouldn't have seen your extra savings here, but we wanted to share it with you today. Make sure, you guys, that you sign up for our newsletter and you open those up because we give really, really great discounts and deals and giveaways,
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff. So if you use Sweet30 in your coupon code where you put in your discount code, we knock 30% off your order through the end of tonight. And
Right.
take advantage of it because we're not going to have another holiday sale like this
Right.
for a while.
Right.
So so stock up on your seed bead mix for sure. And then we also have a giveaway today, and our giveaway, I'm going to actually have you hold that as well. Last week we did kind of a fun little needle storage case that Emily liked. This is some of my favorite storage. We don't have these on the site yet. We are going to be adding them, but I thought it would be fun to give these away before we actually have them in. These little stackers, these little bead stackers, I love them. I have them all over my studio, and the way that they just stack up like this, and you start with,
Right.
the lid. And so when I'm doing a project, sometimes even like this, I'll put the whole project in one of these, and so it's really portable for me to move around. And I also added, I know we talked about the triangles last week, but I added my little bead scoop because I think A, it's cute, and B, it's super helpful.
We
So
actually use it as a photo prop too.
yeah,
That's how
we
cute it
do.
is.
I love it so much. So we've got this, and if you put in, we're going to do this, we're going to extend this out a little bit. It's about 12:15 now. We ran a little long today, but we had so much to share with you. So we'll go till about 1:15 Pacific time today on the 5th of July. If you write simple storage in your shipping notes, we'll go ahead and add my little shipping, or my little storage group here, the storage little bins and my little scoop, and we'll put that in your order as your giveaway. So that's what we've got. Sweet 30 for your discount, simple storage for your giveaway. Oh my gosh, it was one for the record books, Grace, I think. Lalique Looming.
100 viewers at one
Yeah,
point.
it's awesome.
Awesome.
Well, do remember, you'll be able to watch this a few times after the broadcast finishes. You can always watch us right here on our Facebook Live page. You can also watch us a little bit later. Karen has it posted up on our website on the individual Facebook Live page for Lalique Looming. And then you can also find us all the time on our YouTube channel, beadshop.com. with these guys, our Free Tip Fridays, all of that stuff lives there.
Cool.
All right, well, I'll see you guys on Friday for Free Tip Friday. We'll play around with some more of that stuff with our seed bead mix. And on Wednesday, you guys, Janice will be back with color study.
Yes.
We can't wait.
So
yeah, we
exciting.
heard some yays from the back office. Well, Gracie, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much
That
for
was a
coming
lot of
on.
fun.
You've gotten pretty far on your piece, so I
did.
can't wait
We're
to
gonna
see.
flash it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see. We'll have that posted as well on the project page. So it was great.
A lot of fun.
All
Thank you so
right.
much.
Oh, thank you, and thank
guys.
you guys. We'll see you on Friday and next week. Beadshop.com. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.